Today's truth. I'm sorry I missed you guys last week, but I just didn't feel like it. But as promised, if you follow me on IG, I said I was gonna give y'all a story, another story time. Last week was about the job. This week is about my kids because they checked me again. One in particular, the oldest one. Y'all ready to hear a story? Here we go. Your kids will check you, and ooh, that sun. I was not expecting that. Hold on, y'all, because I gotta see. I want to be able to see. Okay, yeah, your kids will check you, um, and when you least expect it, and in a way that you don't expect. Actually, um, many of you have been following me for quite some time and know the struggles that I have been going through, and you know that my children. I made a very conscious decision to let my children live with their dad instead of with me during the struggle. I didn't want them to go to the homeless shelter with me. Damn this son. Um, well, huh. Before that time, since that time, during that time, all that time, I've been beating myself up thinking that I am not a good parent, that my kids resent me in some type of way. Um, I'm just not doing a good job, and that's why I don't think we are as close as I would like us to be. Well, my oldest daughter slapped me on the wrist and in the face and kicked my ass last week and told me, shut the fuck up, basically. You don't know what you're talking about. Um, blah, 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 blah. And in a nutshell, she gave me the reassurance that they are not mad at me. They do not resent me. And I don't, it's so cliche, but I am a Capricorn. And in true Capricorn fashion, it is innately in me not to ask for help. It has been bred in me to figure shit out. I come from a single parent home, a foreign mother. My mom is Jamaican, and so she was raised independently, and so I was raised independently, and so I don't ask for help, especially help from my children. Um, my oldest daughter is in a better position financially than I am, and so instead of trying to do get our family together by myself, I had to ask for help, and I asked my daughter for help. Um, Instead of us going our separate ways, can we come together for a couple of years, save some money, for you to for you to buy a house and for me to buy a house. And I am expecting my daughter to look at me like, bitch, no. Fuck no. You supposed to be helping me. Like that's the drill that I have in my head. I have prolonged asking for help from my child because of the rhetoric that I have in my brain that is, for lack of a better word, stupid. Damn it. And so I have been beating myself up, trying to figure out how I can save this money and get our whole family back together. And it has been quite difficult. And with some recent changes of events that's happening at their residence, my process has to speed up. And so she checked me. She made me feel good about asking. I did not feel like shit. She did not cuss me out, and she was going to make the suggestion anyway, unbeknownst to me. And so, yeah, your kids will check you. And no funny shit. Every time I think I'm failing, they're there to remind me. No, you just it's not your time yet, Mom. That's all. I'm reminded that it's just not my time. I'm reminded that I am a good parent because there are some absent parents that do. There are some women that have left their quote unquote left their kids on their father's doorstep and never returned, and they never heard hide no hair of them. Not the case with me. Whenever my children needed something and it was within my means to do so, I hopped on the first thing smoking to get what they needed. Um, we talk all the time. We see each other all the time. And so even in all that non-togetherness that we were having, we were still together, and I was beating myself up for something that I didn't need to beat myself up for. And I guess that's today's truth. I need to stop beating myself up for shit out of my control, for lack of a better word, because that's what it was. That was something that was out of my control. I could not have controlled um certain aspects of our situation. Um, I could have taken them with me to the shelter, and we probably would have been set up in a house already by now. I did not want to take my children through further mental anguish than they already was going through, watching me deteriorate in front of their eyes, and they don't know what was going, and they didn't know what was going on. I never shared with my children that I had a mental illness because up until they actually left the house, I did not say it out loud. I knew I was diagnosed, but after being diagnosed, I kind of was like, I don't got time to be depressed. I don't got time to be dealing with whatever the fuck this doctor talking about. I don't. And then in the midst of that, I almost crashed my car, having panic attack and blacking out behind the wheel. So it was out of my control. Something had to give, and I years later, it's now been years later, I don't cry when thinking about the decision that I made. I don't. The last panic attack that I had regarding my children and not being able to take care of them was during this summer, and it really wasn't because I can't quote unquote take care of them. It was because I was not living in the same house with them, and we were in the middle of a pandemic, and all I wanted at that moment was to walk down the hallway and see dirty socks on the floor. All I wanted in that moment was to see dishes piled up in the sink from my children, not from some people that I just so happened, my roommates that I just so happened to live with. Like that's where the anxiety and the panic came from. Like, am I ever going to get back to cussing my kids out because they got my house looking a mess? You know what I'm saying? Like, as crazy as that sounds, I mean, that's where I was. And so now, when I have the thoughts of fear and anguish instead of bottling it, and my oldest child is cognizant enough, as well as emotionally, I believe, available enough to have adult conversations now. She is now a mother. She is now an adult. The only thing that she does not do, that I don't do, and neither one of us do right now, is pay rent. So outside of that, she still is, she goes through the same things that I do. It may not be on such a, high capacity level as mine, but she is now a parent, and so she understands some everyday things that I cannot talk to the other two children about because they are not in that space. They're still in school. Well, one just graduated high school, but still, I don't feel, and I could be speaking out of turn, but I don't feel like she's mentally ready to have certain adult conversations in the same capacity that I do with my oldest one. And so, yeah, now that I got checked. I got checked. And I need to stop beating myself up for shit that was out of my control. That shit that's no longer in my control, and probably will never be in my control. Um Yeah, and I love her for it. I love that we have matured. That's the word I was looking for. I love that she has matured into this person that I I can call my friend now. You know what I'm saying? This isn't she's not just my kid. And that's a good thing. I am hopeful that in the few coming years that I can be friendly with my mother in the same capacity that we used to be in. And so that's the other truth. Like this fear of the unknown and what has been keeping me hostage. I now am going to talk about or I'm going to have the hard conversations because that is part of the healing process and this journey. Um, it's just wild. I had to really think about it. That's the only reason why I didn't say nothing to y'all last week because I really had to think about how I was gonna how I could have talked about this. Without giving too much details, but it was no other way but to do it. And y'all know I hate, giving out plans and shit, but I mean, it is what it is, and part of the journaling process is sharing the truth, uh, minute and vast as it very well may be, and hope that the universe does not trample over my sharing, um, how I was feeling in a moment of what's the word? I'm just the words are escaping me. That's how I've been literally floating for about a week now. After speaking to her, because it replays in my mind, um, our conversation and how flowy it was. It wasn't. I didn't have to. Um, I didn't have to hesitate. I didn't have to hold my breath. It was and it keeps replaying in my mind how easy that conversation, as hard as a conversation was for me, how easy it was to have it in the moment. And so I wish all my conversations, my hope is that all my conversations that I will be having in the future will go just that way. Very flowy and very, oh, I'm breathing. I'm not I'm not getting tense. I'm not sweat isn't dropping from my, forehead. My eyelashes ain't falling off. I ain't struggling to find words in the moment. Like it was just a really good conversation. And the more I reflect, the more whole I become. If if that's even I think that may be what it is. Yeah, I just it felt good to ask for help and I didn't get a lecture back. I didn't get a no. I didn't get a well, we can see what we can do. Like it was an actual conversation. Well, I may not be able to do this, but I can do that. Like it was it's been a long time for me to go out on a limb and ask for help and it is without a hesitation and outside of my friends helping me with a place to rest my head because they don't want to see me in a shelter. um Outside of that conversation, the other ones have not been so easy to have, and it's partially because I live in this fear and I have the expectation that the answer will be no. And I gotta stop doing that. Because clearly it will change and it will be all right. I gotta believe. I said this last week or a week before last about the manifestation. Um, and it wasn't that I wasn't manifesting. I was manifesting. Um, but as of lately, I wasn't manifesting with the belief that it could actually happen. And so now that I am becoming a little bit more whole, the pieces are coming back together. I am putting out shit into the universe that is coming back to me quickly, I might add. And so I gotta stop this fear. I gotta stop living in this fear. That's what's been holding me back. That's what has kept the perpetual loop of fuckery, because I have been living in fear that everything will fail or that I will fail and I will be right back to square one again. I said it again out loud. That's what it is. The fear. And that's what this anxiety is. That's what it does to me. It keeps me in this constant fear. And it's no amount of medicine. I don't care how much meds they give me, how strong they give it to me. I don't think that's ever going to it starts with me. I have to believe that I will get out of the hole that I'm in. I have to believe that I will be the shit and not smelling like shit like I've been these past couple of years. It's because it's my truth, right? And I have to live in it. And I have to know that I was just not setting a good example and I was not being the best me. I was putting on a facade. And so, watch out, bitches. I'm back. May not be your truth, but I got me some new hair. And it's mine.